The 6th episode of Dexter Resurrection is called Cats and Mouse. We open up on Dexter sweeping the steps of his new apartment, and Blessing comes out and lets him know that his mother Prudence has died. He said it happens like she wanted and that she wasn't in pain. And Blessing obviously looks pretty distraught at this. Then Dexter calls Harrison and tells him that they have to reschedule their plans. I don't know what their plans were. I assume they were getting lunch or something. He tells him he's going to his landlord's wake. Harrison shows up at his doorstep with a suit and says he's going to go with him. I guess he's just a really good son. Harrison tells him that funerals are really hard when you're alone, and he flashes back to Hannah, if you remember Hannah from the old series. They mentioned in New Blood that Hannah passed away of like liver failure or kidney failure or something, and he had to be at her funeral alone. And he shows up at Dexter's because he doesn't want Dexter to be alone during a funeral. And there's this kind of nice moment where you get like the generation of Morgans, you know, with Harry and Dexter and Harrison. It's a little cheesy, but it's kind of a nice moment. Dexter says, get ready for a lot of sadness, and they open the door and everybody's celebrating, which I think is kind of funny. Then we cut to Charlie, who's snooping around Red's old place. She calls Prater and tells him that Red is MIA, because obviously Dexter is posing as Red and he's living somewhere else. And so it seems like Prater's kind of putting together that the serial killers are getting picked off, or at the very least they're disappearing. Then we cut back to the wake, and Constance is telling everybody that Prudence collected a bunch of cat figurines, and there's so many that she wants everybody to take one home with them, which is kind of sweet. When they take one, they have to go up in front of everybody and tell everyone what Prudence meant to them. And so when it's Dexter's turn, he doesn't really know what to say. And he talks about how he enjoyed her food, and he said that she told him at one point that all she wanted was to be surrounded by people that she loved. And everybody cries. And then Blessing gets up there and gives a stirring eulogy as well. And before he starts crying in front of everybody, he walks out. They're spending a lot of time talking about Blessing and him being affected by his mother's death. And I'll talk more about that later. Then Prater calls Dexter and lets him know that he knows that he hasn't been at his place in a long time, and he tells him to meet him at his house. Meanwhile, Harrison is thinking about enrolling in college, but of course college is very expensive and he's got no money. And Elsa calls him and asks him to watch Dante, her son, while she works a double shift because her mom came down with the flu. Then we cut to the guy that Mia was going to kill in the last episode, and he's being questioned by the police, and they're trying to get more information about what happened. So the detectives are trying to connect Mia with Ryan Foster's murder. Her partner points out that they did find the watch in her trophy case, so that does pretty much indicate that she killed him. The thing that Wallace is getting hung up on is the guy that they were just talking to, the almost victim. He heard Mia mention that he would be her first kill in New York, which implies that she didn't kill Ryan Foster. And then Batista shows up, and Batista says that he doesn't think Mia killed Ryan Foster. He thinks it was the Bay Harbor Butcher, or he thinks it was Harrison who learned from Dexter, and he tells him the whole theory about how Dexter is the Bay Harbor Butcher. And then he knows that they're going to go talk to Mia, and he says he wants to be with them when they do that. Then we cut to Prater's, and Dexter shows up, and Rapunzel is there with the Gemini killer. And obviously they are rattled because they know about what happened to Mia. They know about her getting caught. Prater lets them know that Lowell is missing, which I think also rattles them a little bit. Gemini's worried that Mia will give him up. Gemini says offering up his name is a one-way ticket to immunity. He kind of boasts about his status, about being at the top of the FBI's most wanted list. And he has this funny line where he says Fincher's thinking about making a movie about him. If you don't know who Fincher is, he's a famous director. He's one of the best directors out there. He's responsible for Zodiac, Seven, and Mindhunter. And that one of the Culkins might be playing him, which is funny. Which Culkin do you think would play him? Do you think it would be Macaulay Culkin or Kieran Culkin? Either would be funny, but I guess Kieran Culkin has black hair. Kieran Culkin just won an Oscar for supporting actor for Real Pain. That movie's good, by the way. So here's another interesting thing. We kind of figured, just by analyzing the last episode, that Prater has some law enforcement in his pocket because he gives a lot of money to the departments. I'm kind of wondering now if Wallace's partner is in Prater's payroll. I'm going to say it right now. That's my theory. Prater mentions that he has connections in every level of law enforcement, including the FBI. Prater also offers them more money, which Rapunzel takes hastily. Then we cut to looks like a racetrack or a gambling den or a place where people watch horse races in a weird crowded room where people are all shouting. Charlie meets with a guy and gives him a stack of money. Because I've seen other TV shows already, I assume that this is the guy who's supposed to take out Mia. Then we cut back to Dexter, and he is looking into the Gemini killer's killings and finds out that he always kills in pairs. And he gets really upset when he sees a father and son as the victims. Then he follows him for a while and follows him into a bookstore. And he's right next to him, and like I can't believe he doesn't even see him. Like he's right there. And he sees him put a bookmark inside of a serial killer book, inside of like a true crime book. And he goes to look at it, and it just says 8 p.m. on it. And Gemini is definitely watching him do this. He's like right there. Then we cut back to Harrison, who's watching Dante for Elsa. And Elsa, he says that Stefan added extra shifts because of the gala crowd. So does that mean the police gala that they alluded to is happening at their hotel? That's kind of convenient. New York is smaller than I remember. They keep dropping dropping hints so that like they're building up to this gala event, which will probably happen in the finale or close to the finale. That's my guess. And what we know about the gala is we know that it's a police charity event. Oh yeah, then she mentions that there's black mold in his room and that that's causing Dante's breathing to be very poor. And the landlord won't fix it until she pays rent, but she's like, I'm not paying rent until he fixes it. Then we cut back to Dexter, who finds Gemini waiting for him at his apartment. And he asks him why he took his bookmark. And Dexter pretends that he's a fan of the Gemini killer and that it was an excuse to get to know him better. Dexter offers him a gin and tonic, to which he accepts, and he puts horse tranquilizer in the gin and tonic while he's making it. Dexter asks him why he always kills in pairs, and Gemini responds by saying that dying together is the ultimate bond. He offers him the drink, to which Gemini switches the drinks so that Dexter is drinking the one that he did not offer him. And then Gemini faints. Turns out he put the tranquilizer in his drink the whole time. I half expected it to be like an immunity thing, like in Princess Bride, you know, where they were both poisoned, or they both had the tranquilizer in them, and Dexter's just built an immunity this whole time. I wouldn't put it past him. Then we cut back to Harrison reading Dante Ninja Turtles. I actually have that comic. And he puts him to bed, and the landlord knocks on the door, and it's Bobby from The Sopranos. And he's looking for the rent, and Harrison's getting really bothered by this guy, and he fantasizes about killing him, but he doesn't do it. He says, tell Elsa to pay her rent, or I'll take other measures. Then we cut back to Dexter, and he quickly kills Gemini. Usually, Dexter does have a conversation with his victims before he kills them, and it made me wonder if there was a script reason why they didn't do this. Like, if there was a reason, like maybe Gemini had information that kind of screws up the story if Dexter knows ahead of time. So it did kind of make me wonder. I'm like, why aren't they letting him talk? Like he definitely knows something that the audience doesn't know. Immediately after the kill, Blessing knocks on his door and asks to talk to him. Dexter quickly shoves the body into the bathroom and opens the door, and they have a conversation. Blessing seems to open up a lot to him in this moment and is very vulnerable with Dexter. Right now, I'm going to get into the theory that people seem to have that he is the New York Ripper. Throughout the show, they've been alluding to the New York Ripper. We don't know who it is. They alluded to it in episode 4, where Prater pointed out a couple things in his little vault full of trophies. He talks about the New York Ripper. And then earlier in this episode, Batista talked about how detectives always have that one case that they can't get out of their mind, and he points to a newspaper clipping that says the New York Ripper on it, which kind of implies that Wallace was part of the case of the New York Ripper, or maybe was a part of the case at one point and it went cold. Maybe we don't really know if Wallace was involved with the New York Ripper case or not. But it's leading a lot of fans to speculate who is the New York Ripper. Is it someone that we know already? And so a lot of fans believe that Blessing is the New York Ripper, and it's getting harder and harder to deny that theory. I definitely have a theory that he killed his mom as like a mercy killing, because in the last episode she said she didn't want to die in a room full of doctors. She wanted to die surrounded by family in her own home. And I think Blessing definitely eased her passing. And it kind of seems like he might be the New York Ripper, which would be kind of crazy. But it's getting harder and harder to deny that theory, I think. Because he also, in this moment, talks about a darkness and how you shouldn't bring the darkness home with you. And we all know what that means. We all know what the darkness is in this franchise. So no, it would not surprise me if Blessing turned out to be the New York Ripper. But it could also be Prater, we don't know. Then we have this stupid tense moment that they always do in TV shows where it's like, oh, he almost finds the body behind the shower curtain, but of course he's not going to. Dexter disposes of Gemini's body in the furnace, and then we cut to Dexter having breakfast in a diner with Harrison. And Harrison confides in him and saying that he felt the urge to kill again. And Dexter tells him to stop beating himself up and that you had an impulse and you denied it, and that's okay. And he says that it kind of reminds him of his Aunt Deb. I like that this show doesn't ignore the past. Like it constantly references the old show, and it constantly is like, hey, remember this character. And it really feels like these are connected, and it doesn't feel like it's just trying its own new thing, and it's not ignoring what has already previously happened. It's constantly reminding us of all the things that has happened in the past. And I like that, because a lot of these reboots and TV shows just like to be its own thing, and they like to just be like, oh, that never happened, and they just kind of like shove it off to the side. It makes the world feel lived in, to me at least. He's kind of wearing like the blue button down. It kind of reminds me of Harry from season 1. He's always wearing like that blue button down. And so I wonder, I like that they're kind of making it a Harry and Dexter situation, or a Harry and Dexter relationship, but hopefully this one seems a little healthier. He gets to be for Harrison what Harry was to him, and I like that dynamic. He tells him that Deb also had a hot temper and she also made frequent mistakes, but she never let those mistakes get to her. He says, you carve your own path and I'll be here to help you. Very good fatherly advice. Then Dexter gets a call from Charlie. Prater's got a surprise for him, meet us in 2 hours, and bring tools and trophies. Then we cut to the prison with Batista and the detectives, and it looks like Mia has killed herself, but we all know that that's bullshit. Mia was killed by the guy that Charlie paid off earlier. Now, at first I wondered maybe this is them like faking her death and she's actually going to be alive, but in IMDb it says that she's only in 3 episodes, which makes me think that she is actually dead. But anything's possible. We'll see. Dexter hears about the suicide on the radio on the way to meet Prater. I'm a little confused at Dexter's actions here because I know that he's got to do his thing and he's got to kill these serial killers, but him killing Gemini just seems really risky because didn't he already kill Lowell, and like all these killers keep getting picked off one by one right after he joins. It just seems really risky to me, but I don't know. Do you, Dexter, but it just feels really risky to me. I'm kind of surprised he went and did that and didn't lay low. Anyway, they get on the helicopter and then another car shows up. And right here I kind of expected it to be Mia, but it was not Mia. It was Gemini, who is dead. Turns out the Gemini killer are twins, which is insane. And it's crazy because they kind of hint at that with the multiple with the killing in pairs, you know, it kind of makes sense. But man, I didn't see that coming. That's very prestige, if you will. So where do you think they're going? Are they going to an island where they can hunt people? Like, I have no idea where they're going. He said to bring the tools, though. Also, doesn't he owe them a presentation? Remember in the Prater dinner? In the Prater dinner, he said that Dexter has to come back with a, not Dexter, but, you know, Red has to come back with a presentation at their next dinner. Is that still happening? Anyway, Dexter looks at the camera and says, fuck me, and then it ends. I wonder if Prater is just trying to get them all alone, or like try to get them to a secluded place so he can kind of suss out who's doing all this. Like, I wonder if he's catching on that one of them is doing this, you know, like taking out all these people one by one. I'm very interested to see what happens next. But what are your theories? Let me know what your guys' theories are in the comments, and I'll catch you guys next week.